Hello to anyone that might be listening. This is Millennial Malfunction. I'm Jose Ricana. Welcome. Um, Started this podcast to try to just talk about millennial issues. I start a lot of things, and I don't always finish. But a lot's been going on in Chicago, and I do live here, so I like to talk about Chicago-centric things every now and then. Trying this different setup. It's very awkward, isn't it? It's not great. I don't like the angle for me. It's also not. It's, okay. Well, I started, so I'm just gonna keep going like this. Uh, Yay. Um. Whoa. April politics, cops, Chicago, and changes in America. Lots been going on since I was last here. I started off the podcast a bit aggressively, name calling and aggressively cursing out other people's work, and there's no reason for that. So I deleted the first episode, letting the other episodes stand, and I'm just going from here, just meandering through these monthly podcasts would be all 10 people that I send this to. Thanks for checking this out. But I did want to talk a little bit about what's been going on in America, in Chicago, in my neighborhood. Uh, uh, a lot's happened since I didn't canvass for Bernie enough, and he lost Illinois and folded his campaign shortly after, and as the pandemic overtook the world, and all hope was lost for our future. People and shit posting a lot on the internet, and it's basically become part of the political movement of our times, to the point where weaponized rumors are now becoming a made-up thing that elected officials complain about. I will talk more about that soon. Weird stuff. Where to start? Well, I want to start a little bit about something I think that a lot. I mean, I don't have any words. Until I find something intelligent or something coherent to say about this. I don't know about be able to talk, but this it's been a heavy couple of weeks in Chicago. Um, Recent shooting of a young boy, Adam Toledo. It's had a real effect on most people I know. You know, in the city, my family, myself. We all, we lived right by there. When I was between the ages of 2 and how old are you when you're in? Second, I don't know, like 8. And moved not too far away until I was like, still a little village. But then until I was like, what, 17 or something, 16, so we moved again out of Little Village. So yeah, I mean, I was in Little Village until I was like 16 years old. We were lucky, my mom's family already had history in Chicago. They'd grown up here. So even though I don't want to get all into it, but like, we were coming from Mexico. People were here taking care of us, and like and so like but there was a lot of so we were yeah. But I mean, there was a lot of people in Little Village. It was a very transient community of people that of families trying to look for a new start or to get started. Adam's family, Adam, his classmates, the kids his age in the community. Um, yeah, Little Village is not that big of a community. Um, it's it's jarring to see the Little Village La Vita arc on Vice News on the New York pages of the New York Times, Washington Post, and it is jarring to see social media international solidarity with Adam. Wow, yeah, people who grew up you know with me, around me, um, will be the first to not have that solidarity with Adam. Uh, that sucks. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. A lot of people have passed away these last couple of years, and I don't. It's it's I don't know. I mean, it's been very sad. You know, Little Village saw a lot of kids die, and when I was growing up, and much like we're seeing um, this get played out on social media, those conversations used to just get played out on the block. Oh, what was he doing out late? Oh, well, where are his parents? Oh, where this and that? And then, of course, people would push back here and there, but ultimately, those questions, those lines of questionings and concerns, lead back to trusting the state and their word and the official media narrative that surrounds police statements, and then the politicians that use those statements to galvanate their next policy success that they run on. And these are just the patterns that we're used to going through, and neighborhoods like Little Village. I don't live there now, so I haven't lived there since 2003. So, well, then I wasn't too far away. Like, hmm, and then I was. And I came back. All right. Well, anyway, Chicago's not that big. We'll get back into that. Ed Burke, who's been here like in charge for like 70 years, um, or 50. I don't know. He's been around for a while, 100. He says Chicago's a very small town. There's nobody that he doesn't know. And I wonder how they feel about people that piss him off all the time. Yeah, Chicago's not that big. And Little Village is just one of the 76 neighborhoods in Chicago. So it's a small community, and it's one that's always been over policed. Um, it's one that's had it's a lot of gang warfare, like warfare. Um, it's DMX, rest in peace. Used to hang with some of the Latin Kings from Little Village and kind of knew a lot about just the reality that heroin becoming a perennial black market is going to create gangs when there's no other opportunities for upward mobility, for economic stability, for any kind of tie for of a self-sustaining livelihood. And the urban planner in me says that's by design. All cities, as far as I know, expect an element of human desperation to prey upon for menial labor attacks, for service labor work. And within those communities, one ways to control them is drugs and over policing. This is not new. America, is very explicitly racist about these practices. In Chicago, it was even codified into our municipal code of law. And someone like Ed Burke, who was, maybe there when it was written, I don't know. He's a product of his time. Let's jump into a little bit of other shady people. Eddie Burke. Funny guy. Oh wait, first this. Yes. You really should get a second monitor. I don't know how to get a second monitor. So Adam Toledo, he's a 13-year-old boy. He was he had his hands up when he was shot, and the counter narrative has been that, well, he was running with a gun at one point. We'll jump back to that, but then in bucking the blame, it's like, well, who put the gun in his hand? There's another person in the video who was kind of knocked over and arrested early on. And then this man, the man with Adam Toledo, when he was shot by police, there's a organization that posts bail for high-profile cases that have to do with police violence. They decided they were going to bail out this young man. I want to kind of get into the weeds of this because I think that there was the arguments for have a lot of merit, and it's a good place to jump into this conversation. But obviously, the situation being what it's being, the emotions around it. As I said, Little Village, people from my own neighborhood would be some of the first to be like, would be decrying this. This is also a community that has seen more violence and neglect from its government, so that when there is a demonstration of government work, such as police, it's almost like the community's conditioned to be grateful. Let's keep going. Right. The man who was allegedly with 13-year-old shortly before the child was shot by a Chicago police officer has been bailed out of jail. The Cook County Sheriff's Department revealed Monday. Ruben Roman, 21, was placed on electronic monitoring Saturday after posting $15,000 bond in the case involving Adam Toledo. A $25,000 bond was also posted for Roman for a 2019 gun case. Yep. Surveillance video released last week by Civilian Office of Police Accountability, which investigates Chicago police shootings of the passing vehicle the morning of March 29th while Adam Toledo stood near him. Oh, man. let's focus on Roman here. Um, he was arrested at the scene on misdemeanor charges of resisting or obstructing a peace officer. But he was later charged with felony counts of child endangerment, aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, and reckless discharge of a firearm after investigators determined that he fired the gun several times before police arrived. A judge ordered Roman to be held. Kessia Reynolds, an official of the organization, told did they ever mention the organization? Sorry. Mm. Keisha Reynolds, an official of the organization, told the Chicago Tribune the organization reviewed Roman's case as fitting the organization's mission to pay bail for people who can't and to end police violence. A judge ordered Roman held on $150,000 bond for the charges connected to probation. Okay, that's repeated. So that's not me, that's just AP. We are aware that the city will continue to use him as a scapegoat for the killing of Adam Toledo, which was committed by the Chicago Police Department, she said. Largely peaceful demonstrations have been held each day since the video of Toledo's shooting was released Thursday. Attendees have criticized the Chicago Police Department for a long history of misconduct, particularly in Black and Latino neighborhoods, and called for justice for Adam, who was Latino, Stillman is white. Okay. Very awkward here, AP. It's this. A judge ordered Roman held on $150,000 bonds for the charges connected to Toledo case, $250,000 for probation violation. Judge ordered $150,000 connected to Toledo case. Okay, so I mean, that should be that twice. They don't mention the organization that did this, that bailed them out. But which is a shame because there should really be the headline of the story, their mission statement. But as Keisha Reynolds says, we're aware the city will continue to use him as a scapegoat. On those grounds alone, even if this guy was like the devil, which I don't know any 21-year-old kid that is necessarily that, Lil Nas. But you know, having him locked up isn't going to bring Adam back, and it doesn't really serve justice to make sure that there's no random shootings at night. I mean, this was the guy that did it, so I mean, I know how that sounds. But why is a 21-year-old training a 13-year-old to terrorize people at 2:30 at night and move about the city freely? Why does a 21-year-old kid have that training? You know, and I grew up around that neighborhood. And I'm not, I mean, I'm not, I was never in the scene, but like the 2-6 were just like the homegrown kids, whereas like the Latin Kings were like Microsoft doing corporate takeovers, no limit soldier type deals that like, I don't know. And people say Adam Toledo wanted to be a police officer and he was hanging out with someone that was older that was trying to teach him something. There's a narrative there that's not unfamiliar in neighborhoods like Little Village, like Gage Park, like Back of the Yards, even places like Brighton Park, which are a little bit more family oriented, are not, immune to these dynamics. This used to be way worse in Humboldt Park and Logan Square. You see more of this in the north side of Chicago. Now it's more like it's more of a common way of life in the south side of Chicago. There's people that can probably speak to these stories with a lot more authority and authenticity than me. I grew up in and around this, and I had a very type of experiences and perspectives. But I mean, it's still, like I said, it's a small town. I ultimately agree with the the move to for him to post bail, because I mean, if he egregiously messes up again, I mean, isn't that the bail system to, say, hey, well, there you go, argument's done. Or if he's someone that's panicked right now, and he's shown some morsel of humanity from the communities trying to end this systemic violence that's inherent in capitalism that creates these mega cities for hoarding poor people into debt and exploitation for their labor, in perpetual fear of their lives from their neighbors, by a made-up drug war. I mean, like if this man has shown some solidarity from people working on that, maybe he becomes part of that too. It's better than keeping him in Cook County Jail, where police are gonna blame him for them having a hard time. Other prisoners, other people not being very empathetic about his situation, if he has any ties to organized crime, basically giving him the rundown of like, hey, if you keep your mouth shut, especially if you see some years in prison, better for you than you say anything that you think is going to help you. What do they call it? School? Yeah, why would go to school to learn how to be better at these dynamics? And I mean, ultimately, organized crime keeps formalized, law enforcement the way it is in business. So it's a bit of an awkward feedback loop. I was just watching The Godfather of Harlem today, so that's also why I'm a little biased. It's a really good show. You should check it out. Yeah, but abolishing the police means kids like Adam don't seek someone that's 20 years old to teach them how to shoot a gun. It means at their neighbors. It means that someone that's 21 doesn't understand why shooting the gun at 2:30 is part of his economic development, and training this young man is part of this lifestyle or system that he has decided to partake in, that he probably is a soldier in. Uh, or maybe he's not. Maybe he's young and just got had a gun for some stupid reason. I don't know. I'm telling you what I understand happens in Little Village, which isn't kids that don't have anything to do being stupid. It's ports of entry from many buses that go in and out of Mexico, from many trucks that bring wholesale Mexican products to 26th Street that sees more revenue than almost any other neighborhood in Chicago, that can bring in um, as much revenue, second only to Michigan Avenue on sometimes. Um, you know, I mean, you still have your old school Italian furniture stores that you have to order special furniture from overseas, which is great. Anyway, heroin just ends up somehow in the park. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I got there. No one knows how I got there, but it's there, and it's $30. What do you need? What do you need? Right. So like, why is that normal? And we have one of the largest police forces in the goddamn planet. And Chicago police force has more cops. Chicago has more cops per capita than LA. We're second really only to like what, New York City, which is still enjoying all that, well, enjoying, still militarized after 9/11. And DA knows about Chicago. You have an FBI headquarters here. You have a home floor of Homeland Security here. Somehow, El Chapo needed help from little village guys to formalize his operation from Mexico into all of the United States. All right. So that's cool. Like that's what's going on the block, you know, or I can like, you know, stay in school and say no to drugs because that's exciting. Um, yeah. So anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. A lot of shit goes down in a little village, and people are just trying to get by. Yeah, they don't make a lot of money. Yeah, and Ed Burke understood that, and that's why he helped Danny Solis's organization, United Neighbors organization. Was it United Neighbors? Uno, which became a political organization, which became a charter school network, which is now just a big old pot of money now. Um, so let's see what old Burke is up to. Made the news today. It's fun. This is not a good reason to make the news, though. He said some racist stuff. He said some anti-Semitic stuff, which is pretty messed up. I regret tweeting out like he's probably said more racist things. He probably has. That wasn't the right thing to tweet. I have a stupid tone every now and then. I should watch my tone. I can be mean and ignorant. But I was wondering why that statement that he made. I'll get to it. I'm trying to find the article. Why would it make it into the federal prosecutors' files, like into what they're presenting? Like, how is that relevant to the charges of systemic corruption, where he has used his personal business? He's used his seat as the chair of the finance committee of the city of Chicago, a position he's enjoyed since the early 90s. He only stepped down a few years ago in light of these allegations of this indictment. He's used that position to enrich himself into his personal business as a real estate lawyer. One of his more famous clients being one Donald J. Trump. But he apparently his anti-Semitic remarks, which are pretty harsh and messed up, were also explicitly self-serving in the conversation that he was having. It was a very prejudiced remark that he made, that he was saying in concern to his own business. There's some good quotes here. Prosecutors revealed new details on Wednesday. Alderman Danny Solis, who was the former alderman of the 25th Ward of Chicago, the primary neighborhood of the 25th Ward being the neighborhood of Pilsen. Danny Solis was a communist in his college years, is what I was told. Started a ragtag and very, aggressive community group United Neighbors Organization, UNO, which he agitated the Chicago machine till he was eventually elected alderman in the 90s. Um, after Rio Lozano, Chicano activist, was killed by gangbangers, and the community was up in arms. And um, yeah, Danny's got a weird story about that, about Rio Lozano being buried in one of the suits he gave him, and how he was proud of that. Anyway, that's my Danny Solis story. He's the guy that the feds found to be corrupt. So they're like, well, we're very worried about Burke being corrupt, and he's as big as it gets in Chicago. Will you wear a wire? And Danny said, okay. Um, checks out. And then what they found was, again and again, Burke shamelessly tied official action to his law firm's receipt of business. Prosecutors wrote, the government acted more than reasonably in investigating Burke's conduct, an inquiry that revealed Burke to be thoroughly corrupt and worthy of prosecution. Holy shit. It's very damning, very harsh. Burke, definitely a product of his time, is still, in my eyes, the grandfather of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. He's set the tone for culture and poise in and out of civic life from a law enforcement perspective, which makes Lightfoot a very interesting foil to him. And I don't know, it's all very interesting. I don't have good words for it, clearly. Can't even describe what my feelings. All right, so the motion describes the first time, some of the investigative steps taken, rejected. They've been on him since 27, Alderman's phones in 2017. All right, so Burke's lawyers have been, and this is the thing, like Burke's not trying to go away that easily. He's been trying to get his charges dismissed completely by suggesting that this started as a witch hunt that unfairly targeted him, mostly due to, for lots of things, but a lot of it having to do with Solis exaggerating to get himself out of trouble. But some of this stuff is very damning. Well, here's his remark. Prosecutors also quoted a statement about Jewish lawyers that Burke allegedly made on a wiretapped call about the development of an old Maine post office, one of the central episodes in the case. Burke says, well, you know as well as I do, Jews are Jews, and they'll deal with the Jews to the exclusion of everybody else, unless there's a reason for them to use a Christian. Okay, Burke allegedly said, referring to the owner of the development company heading up the massive post office. Burke's lawyers have asked that the potentially inflammatory language be stricken from the case. Always looking to be clean as a whistle. But prosecutors argued in their motion Wednesday that it was relevant to the charge scheme because Burke at the time was trying to get the company owner to hire his law firm. A limited reference to the lawyer's religion is not so inflammatory as to be unfairly prejudicial, particularly in light of the fact that the statement clearly demonstrates Burke's understanding that he would get legal business in return for taking official action. Asked about the quote after a Chicago City Council hearing, Burke said, "What?" As Burke walked down the stairs before he read the alleged statement out loud, "Will respond in court," he said. There he is. Man, Palpatine energy. The Midwest Anti-Defamation League said Wednesday it was deeply concerned about Burke's reported language and called for him to apologize. Anti-Semitism has no place in Chicago, and we expect better of our elected officials, the agency wrote in an emailed statement. Meanwhile, an unrelated news conference, Mayor Lori Lightfoot said she doesn't know all the evidence, but restated her call for Burke to resign. By his own words, in wiretapped conversations, Alderman Burke said and did things that not only were improper, but seemed to be illegal, she said. The motion is the latest in a case that stunned the Chicago political world in November of 2018. That's true. When FBI agents raided Burke's offices at City Hall and found a shit ton of guns that didn't have any registration. Everyone just forgot and let it go and just let him keep working like he didn't do anything. It's a lot of guns. Some of them were antiques, but it's a lot. Still kill someone with them. Maybe they have. Okay, it's too far. All right. Although it does shed new light, significant portions of the filings were redacted, including every reference to Solis's name, Shady, as well as a whole paragraph dealing with the probable cause behind the wiretap on Burks' phones. Prosecutors filed an unredacted version of the motion under seal on Monday afternoon. The redactions, meanwhile, made it difficult to clarify some of the new references in the motion. For example, a lengthy footnote in the middle of one blacked out section appeared to reveal that Burke was caught on tape by another cooperator committing a separate crime, but no further details were included. What the hell? Attorneys, so he has until June 19th to file any reply. U.S. District Judge Robert Dowell has said he'll likely hold a hearing for all the motions after the briefing is done. Burke is 77, a Democratic stalwart and one-time dean of the city council, was originally charged in a criminal complaint in January of 2019. He was indicted 4 months later on 14 counts, including racketeering, federal program bribery, attempted extortion, conspiracy to commit extortion, and using interstate commerce to facilitate an unlawful activity. What? The 59-page indictment outlined a series of schemes in which Burke allegedly tried to muscle developers into hiring his law firm, Crafter and Burke, to appeal their property taxes. Among the projects Burke tried to capitalize on was the massive $800 million renovations of the post office in the West Loop, which was in Solis's 25th ward, according to the charges. Whoa. Andrews was accused of assisting the alderman in an attempt to shake down two businessmen seeking to renovate a Burger King restaurant in the 14th ward. The Burger King, that right where Laquan McDonald was shot, right outside. It all comes that happened here in Burke's ward. Well, I'm not in Burke's ward right now, but I used to live there just a few years ago. The indictment also accused Quee of hiring Burke's Law in exchange for the alderman's help with a sign permit and financial deal for the project in the Portage Park neighborhood. All three have pleaded not guilty. Nice. Burke's attorneys argued last year the evidence gleaned from the wiretaps of Burke's cell phone city hall offices, which allowed the FBI to monitor thousands of conversations the alderman received over the course of nearly a year, should be suppressed. FOIA officers. People should probably look into that. Probably a dead end right now while Burke's people are working overtime with it, but they might slip. The accused prosecutors of directing Solis to have scripted interactions with Burke and lie about the post office deal in an effort to curry favor with the government. At the time, Solis had been recording committed a number of different crimes, the motion stated. Awesome communism. Burke's attorneys revealed that Solis entered into a deferred prosecution agreement with the government on January 3rd, 2019, the same day Burke was first charged. It was soon after Solis had abruptly announced his retirement and just days before court records were erroneously unsealed, showing Solis had been secretly recorded by a developer. According to the filings, Solis admitted in the agreement taking campaign cash for a real estate developer in exchange for official action at the zoning committee that Solis chaired. Burke's attorneys were endowed to declare the wiretaps calls inadmissible in court at trial, saying the prosecutors recklessly and intentionally withheld in the Title III wiretap application that they had used a desperate alderman to try and catch Burke committing a crime. The government did not disclose that it instructed a desperate Alderman Solis to record his conversations with Alderman Burke, even though Solis told the government that he had no knowledge of Alderman Burke ever having been involved in corrupt activity in the 25 years they served together on the city council, their motion stated. Burke's alleged lawyers allege that despite Solis's best effort, Burke never agreed on tape to provide any official action streams for private business. But prosecutors in their findings Wednesday dismissed that notion, saying that the undercover recordings of the other evidence revealed at least 23 instances in which Burke talked with Solis about an illegal scheme to extort legal business related to the post office project. I mean, like Solis, you know, he's a Chicago politician. He had to be pretty slick. I don't think he's slick enough to get Burke to mess up 23 times. This is business as usual at some point. Maybe 12. Okay, maybe 12 of those was Solis fishing. But 23, it's a lot. It's a lot. According to prosecutors, Burke made it clear that unless he received tax work, he would help only so much to help usher the project along, including smoothing issues involving Amtrak lines under the building. If we're not signed up, I'm not going to do any lifting for this guy, Burke said, according to the filing. Ooh. When he was told the company still had issues hanging, such as the building's landmark status, Burke allegedly said the cash register has not rung yet. Damn. The prosecutors contend that Burke's way of trying to tying assistance on city business to his private gain. I mean, that's pretty explicit. All right, I can go on and on and on, but oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Damn. At a meeting in Solis's aldermanic office, Burke, who has held his seat since 1969. That's how long he's been an alderman. All right. And he earned his stripes, in the 70s, learned the ropes. In the 80s, he was already pretty seasoned to be the right-hand man of Werdliak to take on Harold Washington's progressive machine of Black and Latino power. Burke was the Paul Ryan of that shit. He was working city council. He's dismissed his, calls of racism during that time as being a product of his time and having changed. But he also helped himself to the extremely powerful position of chair of the finance committee. I mean, if Solis as chair of the zoning committee gets to carry all these shady deals with developers, I don't know what the finance committee gets up to since the early 90s. Anyway, these two guys got sloppy together. At a meeting, Solis was caught on tape explaining to the post office developer that he and his powerful friends could help cut through problems with Amtrak because of their contacts, including a presidentially appointed Amtrak board member. Chicago is a very small town, Burke allegedly said. There aren't too many people around town that we don't know. That's why I've been thinking about leaving Chicago a lot. Not gonna lie. All right. Prosecutors also described another instance where Burke allegedly crossed the line on city business. In March of 2017, Burke was told the post office project needed access to water. When confronted with a specific exchange of official action, namely getting the water commissioner to grant accommodation to the post office project in return for a private benefit, Burke said, "Good. Let me take a look at it." Man, they can get you for that. Oh, shit. All right. Burke initially set up a meeting to discuss the water access issue, but abandoned the idea when the Tribune ran a March 21, 2017 story that reported possible ethical violations with the post office project. According to prosecutors, the story also reported an effort made to help the project getting access to Amtrak-controlled space beneath the building and lower fees from the rail agency, prosecutors said. Burke backed out of the meeting, explaining he was nervous about the water commissioner and worried about whether his planned intervention could be kept discreet, in the filing states. In light of the Chicago Tribune expose, Burke was conscious that his activities were unlawful and that he would seek to exert his influence indirectly, including over the telephone, according to the prosecutors. Wow. This is, this is damning stuff. Oh, hey, sorry, we got someone in the chat. Yeah, that's true. I hear that. Yeah, so Burke, it's this is when he's gotten caught, but this is also seems, maybe probably not the most egregious example we can find of this. This is just what prosecutors have, and it's pretty concrete. Um, Burke, as a real estate lawyer, enriches himself personally um, by having access to high-powered clients, deep-pocketed clients that do business with the city of Chicago. And ultimately, city of Chicago's business, in many ways, plays to the whims of what's beneficial to Burke's personal bottom line. Um, it's systemic government corruption that Republicans should have a heyday with. But Burke is more Republican than any Illinois Republican today. Um, he's when Trump was afraid of Chicago, I think part of it was, like, hey, I got to distance myself from Burke and his Democratic pals. Like, I hope they don't take that personally. I don't know. It's a powerful guy. But it's funny that, like, he's also set the tone in Little Village. Jose Torres ran against Burke briefly in the 2019 elections of Chicago, and I was at one of their town halls. Torres would ask Burke, as Trump's property tax lawyer, how can our community of Mexican immigrants really trust you to represent us? Man, was Burke ready for him. He has numerous examples of economic developments and being a friend to the Latino community. But one that really stuck out was how he personally helped facilitate developing the consulate of Mexico in Chicago to be right on Ashland Avenue by the Teamster and SEIU headquarters, and by the CDL driving schools, explicitly saying that he was facilitating a jobs program with then President Vicente Fox. Not too shy about bragging about it at the moment. You won't find a lot of that on Google. But yeah, he had one of his weird, shady guys like, please reach into my briefcase, and he pulled out these old papers and articles, and he read from these statements. He read what the hell he said at that time. And Torres just kind of sat down. He would later drop out of the race and endorse another candidate who would also lose. So let's talk a little bit about Burke's friends. Recently, one of Burke's friends made the news. Yeah, here we go. One of Burke's longtime precinct captains. One of his precinct captains was arrested by the FBI for lying to the FBI. So, why did he do that? Let's find out. Longtime precinct captain for indicted Alderman Edward Burke pleads guilty to deceiving FBI and corruption probe. Damn. Rudy Acosta spent decades around some of Chicago's most colorful and allegedly corrupt politicians. Great tech, Chicago Tribune, always. Not. A longtime Chicago fire inspector and 14th Ward precinct captain, Acosta watched as a succession of his political mentors were hit with federal charges, including Alderman Fred Rohde, a mob-connected leader of the old First Ward who went to prison for bribery, and current Alderman Edward Burke, who is awaiting trial on sweeping racketeering charges. I know a lot of people hate on The Irishman and Netflix. I don't know. I feel like if that sentence kind of like perked you up, you might get a kick out of the movie. Just it has some history in it. Just check it out. Some of it's just BS, but some of it's fun. But it was Acosta's work as a liaison for corrupt former state senator Marty Sandoval that finally, I mean, that's rough, that finally landed him in hot water. On Tuesday, Acosta, 70, pleaded guilty to misleading the FBI in a series of interviews in 2017 and 2018 about its investigation into Sandoval and other elected officials. Although Acosta provided information about the criminal activities of others, he lied or failed to disclose benefits, including money, free services, meals, and travel, that both he and Sandoval had received from individual A, an uncharged businessman who was under investigation for bribing Sandoval in exchange for his official support. Oh, shoot. Acosta also admitted in the plea agreement with prosecutors that he concealed from the FBI that he made a periodic cash payments to Sandoval related to support for his business, Power Washing Pros, and that he'd also facilitated bribe payments to another public official. Sandoval pleaded guilty last year to taking bribes from a red light camera company executive and was cooperating with federal prosecutors until his death in December from COVID-19 complications. According to a 17-page plea agreement, Acosta faces up to 6 months in prison under preliminary sentencing guidelines. In exchange for a potential recommendation from prosecutors for leniency, Acosta agreed to fully cooperate in the ongoing probe. U.S. District Judge Marty Rowland delayed setting a sentencing hearing due to the ongoing cooperation. Rowland set a status hearing for the case for October 13th. So an old school remnant of Chicago Democratic machine politics, Acosta became the latest figure to plead guilty in a sprawling corruption probe that has so far led to charges against more than half a dozen elected officials and other political operatives. Before he entered his plea, Acosta, who appeared via video conference, traded jokes with the judge about his health and his 8 grandchildren. At one point, Rowland asked him if the medications he was taking for a variety of ailments impaired his ability to understand the proceedings. Not at all, he said, sharp as a pencil. Acosta told the judge he previously worked as an inspector for the Chicago Fire Department for 33 years, but made no mention of his political work. Acosta served for years as the 14th Ward precinct captain under Burke, who was charged in a racketeering indictment in 2019 with using his position as chairman of the City Council Finance Committee to strong-arm businessmen to hire his private law firm to appeal their property taxes. Meaning those law firms then pay less in property taxes, and Chicago public schools get less resources, so then enter charter schools, who then get to bribe Burke. He also was a key aide for Sandoval, a South West Side legislator who was head of the Illinois Senate Transportation Committee. Sandoval resigned after his Springfield offices were raided in 2019. And after Sandoval was charged, rumors of Acosta's cooperating began circulating in legal circles. He denied being an informant when approached by a Tribune report in October 2019. According to the plea agreement, Acosta was interviewed for the last time by the FBI the next month. Acosta's son, Rudy Acosta III, is currently facing federal drug conspiracy charges, alleging he distributed large amounts of narcotics in the Chicago area for Mexican cartel members. Anyway, to help it bond his son out of jail while the case is pending, Acosta agreed in 2016 to post his longtime home on South Avers Avenue as collateral, court records show. He also offered his $65,000 annual firefighter's pension as further collateral. Meanwhile, the other Acosta's name surfaced in 2019 in a separate federal case alleging the operator of a clout-heavy Summit Tavern paid $6,500 in bribes to 2 undisclosed officials in the southwest suburb in exchange for officials benefiting one of his businesses. Official acts benefiting one of his businesses. The operator, Mariano Martinez, who worked on political campaigns with Acosta Sr., is cooperating with authorities in hopes of leniency in its sentencing. Acosta has been at the center of other political scandals throughout the years. Man, Chicago has great characters. In 2011, his home on Avers Avenue was found to have served as the home address for 4 students who were given legislative scholarships by Sandoval. One of the coveted free rides went to the son of Michael Jaws Durango, a twice convicted, mob-connected bookie and strip club consultant. But Acosta's first loyalty was to Burke. Love stories in Chicago. After the longtime 14th powerhouse was reelected in 2019, despite the federal charges, he won reelection while at the height of the scandal. Acosta was among the ardent supporters who cheered Burke at his election night party at the Red Barrel restaurant on Archer Avenue. Good fries there. Good beers. I don't drink anymore though. All these do-gooder people in office, what do? They take money. Take money. They all take money, Acosta said at the time. I can't tell you the amount of people he's helped, what he's done. Camelot is gone. Man, true believers. Oh, my God. Yeah, so that's Burke's buddy. That's the guy that had his back on election night. That's who you need, I guess, for those kinds of things. Yeah, that's what's going on in Chicago City Council. I'm meandering way too long, but I just have to get some of this stuff out. Right, so oof. Guy's 70 years old. Human being. Got a son. Also in trouble. Selling stuff. Shady stuff. And Adam was a guppy in that little ecosystem that ends with Burke at the top. Or he did. God knows what's going on now. Let's talk about Lori Lightfoot. That's our mayor. Recently, amidst talking about communities needing to do more in healing and doing more for the kids and their mental health, she told people they were going to be upset about the Derek Chauvin verdict, that she was going to beat the shit out of them. Or she said, don't test us, which when I grew up, that's usually what that meant, They don't say like, don't test me, or I'm going to have, a cordial talking to with you. It's like, oh, don't test me, I want to beat the shit out of you. It's usually how, it's that rhetorical that you already know. Like, even if you never swore, even when you're a little kid and you don't swear, you're just like, oh yeah, they're saying it. So yeah, Lori Lightfoot threatened to beat the shit out of people that might be upset about the Derek Chauvin trial, and I think that's a good place to start with her. Yes. Yeah. Chicago is prepared to handle protests and unrest. Oh God!
Massive
Jesus, Paris.
After the killing of George.
God. That's how you do that officially, I guess. Chicago is prepared to handle protests and unrest and might be triggered by the verdict in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged with murder in the death of George Floyd, Mayor Lori Lightfoot said Tuesday. Okay. Wow. Not prepared to. Oh, I don't even want to start. I want to get off track here. Yeah, Governor J.B. Pritzker, her good buddy, pronounced Tuesday afternoon that he had activated 125 members of the Illinois National Guard at Lightfoot's request. Tell her no to support the Chicago Police Department. Ugh, you suck, bro. City is prepared to handle any unrest while protecting the First Amendment rights of peaceful protesters, Lightfoot said in an unrelated news conference that could have come straight out of the Trump years. That was her first public appearance since the governor's announcement. All right. But Lightfoot had a warning for those not committed to peaceful protesting. If you don't cry and get broken over the curse that is capitalism's grip over humanity's soul peacefully, well, let me tell you, don't test us. Lightfoot said, don't test us. We are ready to beat the shit out of you. We are prepared to gas you with chemical warfare, and we are ready to arrest and bring prosecution to anyone who would dare take the dreams of our businesses by looting, because like fuck insurance and the city of Chicago, like having small businesses back for infrastructure needs for what they do. Don't test us, because we are ready to crack skulls and ruin lives, not so much grow and foster community. Still waiting on that. Lightfoot has said he has learned a lot from protests and unrest triggered by the death of Floyd Minneapolis custody on May 25th, including putting officers on high alert and assigning them to visible locations. In addition, the city has positioned 300 garbage trucks, salt spreaders, snowplows, and water trucks to protect the city's commercial district if the verdict triggers unrest and violence. Does she have cops driving those, or like are sanitation workers just extra hired muscle at this point in case there's a riot downtown? I mean, not that they weren't already just kind of like shady hired muscle operatives for Burke and Madigan, but it's kind of like, you know, it really takes like the mystique away when it's just like, yo, bring your vehicles and stand by in case the cops tell you to run some protesters over. I don't know. It seems like it's a weird message to turn Chicago into a fort and then like get upset when people cheer, Michigan Avenue windows getting smashed in response, because clearly there's resources to protect the windows of Michigan Avenue. Where were the resources for Adam Toledo? Why is it on his community to be out at night trying to keep their community safe? Why is it on his community to create and provide their own after school programs through limited funding and limited space? Because it's there. I grew up there. I know it's there. And I know how hard it is to maintain that stuff without any official support. Cops got all this damn support. I think we've got a very robust plan in place. Lightfoot said, I feel like we are a city, are way better prepared than we have been to keep our residents safe. I mean, downtown, I'm sorry, man. Like, I know you guys have your own vibe, and but you're not residents, all right? You're not residents. I don't care, dailies. I don't care. If you've been like living in downtown for like 15, 20 years, you're not a resident of Chicago, really. Not really. Stop it. Just cut it out. Like, I know you're part of here, you're important. Yes, you're part, yes, but like you don't keep our residents safe. That's upsetting. How are they doing that? Our officers are getting constant First Amendment rights refreshers, and they are doing tabletop exercises and live drills to make sure they are on point, Lightfoot said. How much money did that cost? There is a lot that has to be done to make sure that the department is honoring its responsibility to protect protesters who are safely and peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights. That's not really what they're out there to do, Oh, God. That's our mayor. That's what comes after Burke. Lightfoot also recently got into it with new 25th Ward Alderman when she was called out for not moving on police oversight committee board. She cut off his mic. It's pretty prickly. Yeah. A bunch of other stuff went down in City Hall I kind of want to get into, but Alderman of Little Village is one Mike Rodriguez. He also had a statement that preceded her cutting off another alderman, but it was, there seems to be a precarious balance in Chicago right now. We see that Madigan, who has run the state, has bowed out, um, has accepted being checkmated by the many forces that have been antagonistic to him for their own selfish, nefarious purposes, really of no benefit to the public. And because of those dynamics, he has somehow insulated himself from a kind of media circus that's surrounding Burke right now. At the moment, who knows what awaits him? But Burke, uh, he still has a lot of pull, as he said. There's a small town. There's very few people he knows. His impact in Chicago will be here to stay for my lifetime. His various networks of people he's empowered, giving livelihoods to, jobs to. People are grateful for that. Yeah, that's gonna be around for a minute. um, but he himself clearly does not have the hand that he once did, despite not losing a step to try to hold on to his sizable influence and power, despite his position. So like, all the same, it's ebbing from his grip. And Lori Lightfoot's not the reformer that she ran as, but she is definitely the replacement of the establishment. Which is why, making her a one-term mayor is perhaps a net positive for Chicago, regardless of who she's replaced with. I mean, we'll see. I think her legacy has been one of crackdowns on the activist community in the face of all of the global movements for human rights, culminating and circulating Chicago to various degrees. She has been a suppressor of those conversations and efforts. I don't even think that she's ashamed of that. I think that she has so little respect and regard for people that don't feel and think like her, that opine from a non-systems perspective of safety, non-law enforcement's perspective of community building, that yeah, really not going to be trying to convince people in her admin of things otherwise. The answers that she could be to the problems that Chicago's facing are exactly what she ran on, and she's not pushing on them. I mean, like, Biden ran on not pushing Bernie's agenda, and he's delivering. So I mean, like, I'm not happy, but I mean, he ran on like, life's not going to get better for you millennials. Fuck you. Lori ran on, hey, I hear you, and I'm here to help. And now she's like, get the fuck out of my way. So yeah, that sucks. That's Chicago. That's why people lose hope. That's why people take their lives into their own hands with what choices are available to them. If that officer hadn't chased Adam down that alley, I probably would have ditched a gun and try to hide somewhere. I would have been caught. If he hadn't had his gun out, ready to kill Adam immediately, despite his training, despite him being someone that trains other people what to do in that situation, Adam would be alive. Police showing up didn't keep people safe because if they're worried about Roman being a gangbanger that's causing systemic violence in his community, it's not Roman that's doing that. He's just fallen into that. The war on drugs that keeps crime organized. I think law enforcement prefers their crime organized. I mean, Burke, I don't know. He had a heavy hand on the gang wars of the 90s. I wonder what he would say about Adam. Well, I only wonder so much. Anyway, and my heart goes out to the people of Little Village, especially the kids of Little Village, the kids of Gage Park, back of the yards, Bryden Park, Archer Heights, Garcia Ridge, but you guys are doing better than most still. Of Pilsen, of McKinley Park. Of Logan Square. A lot of those neighborhoods along the southwest side of Chicago that are aligned to the sanitation canal, which, before human beings gave it that name, it was, the Chicago River. It was just a river that went from the Mississippi into Lake Michigan, but now it's the sanitation canal. That's cool. There's a lot of factories, a lot of work, it's a lot of dirty work. A lot of manufacturing work back in the day that the Eastern European population, Polish, Lithuanian, Ukrainian, landed in Pilsen, migrated southwest to McKinley Park, to Little Village, Bryden Park. The 70s, the Resettle program brought a lot of Latinos to replace workers in those jobs by keeping the pay relatively the same because they were immigrants and they were happy to be working in America for anything. Whereas a lot of the labor movement in America was agitating for better wages in the 70s. Anyway, that led to a huge Mexican population in the Chicagoland area. Ultimately, after legality was granted in 1986 by Ronald Reagan, dynamics really changed in terms of services that cities like Chicago should be providing to populations that they were dependent on for work, especially when a lot of the people didn't have a lot of the adults didn't have formal education, but they really wanted their kids to. It's how we had bilingual education become such a big part of Chicago's public education sphere. And it's how people like Burke understood that, well, if all these new citizens need education, let me give them some civic education so they know how to vote for me. So certain neighborhoods that a long time ago decided that whoever was in these neighborhoods were here to be taken advantage of. And for a while, they filled neighborhoods or redlined neighborhoods to be of a certain population. And now, as cities become places where people that already have money come to think and live, or wait tables or drive Uber, not really a place where people come to work, factory jobs anymore. All of these areas that have terrible pollution, but you can get around that with some paperwork, are ripe for gentrification. And people in the real estate business, like a real estate lawyer like Burke, understand that, understand that. And they're at the forefront of influencing the many arcs that the lives of Chicago are going to take. He might be going away as a central player, but all of that is still there. And so it's sad to know that before the year is over, there will likely be more Adam Toledos in Chicago. There shouldn't be. We know better. We adults can do better. The status quo just keeps too many powerful people powerful. That's all they know. Young men in the street only feel powerful if they're holding a gun. Being part of something that's outside of the system that's oppressing them, that's apart but the same. People hate on The Irishman. I would debate someone on the merits of The Irishman as a movie. It's pretty okay. It's okay. Stop hating on, let De Niro and the guys do their thing. Whatever, man. Ease up on them. All right, that was me for today. There's other things I can talk about. National things. Biden's Ecuador elections were very disappointing. I've been trying to write an article about Latin America. It comes back to Chicago, comes back to Burke and that Mexican consulate, and then the situation with Adam Toledo just made it all too real. The State Department is probably very happy with Ecuador's elections, and that's a foothold for influence in the rest of Latin America. It really concerns me about how they're now going after Cuba and freeing the Cuban people. If you've tried this, like they're good, bro. They're okay. Also, they almost have their own COVID vaccine away from Bill Gates's patents. That's kind of baller as hell, bro. I don't know. I don't know if they need you to free them from the free medicine to the deadly disease that you won't fucking give them. I don't know, bro. Like from where I'm at, they seem good without you. But we'll see, because Florida's gonna be part of the Republican plan for 2024. That's gonna be a thing. Pelosi sucks. Biden sucks. I mean, they're not interested in getting more people, more progressives elected in 2022. They're not interested in passing anything this year before 2022. They're going to hold off so that they can guilt people and fundraise off of bullshit next year. And they're vampires. They suck the life out of the young and keep themselves relevant and vital. And they'll do it to the squad, and they're doing it, and it sucks. Yeah, so that's America. From Chicago. Oh, Mexican elections. Morena Party. So shady. Very weird project. Still on the lookout for good analysts about what's going on there. I wonder what effect it'll have on Chicago politics and our Mexican community here. Yeah, that's going to be a weird thing. Thank you if you were with me for this long. I'll find ways to make these more interesting. I'll try to make them more than once a month, and I'll get a better camera angle than just seeing the side of my second chin all goddamn for an hour. Alrighty, thank you for watching. I will hopefully get better at this and see you soon.